Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be doing the undertone layer, and so for this layer you are going to need to mix up some of your vein blue mix that you had in the previous video, and this is a chart showing you where you're going to place those undertone colors, the blue and the mint green. We're just mixing up a new amount of vein blue using our green 06 and our blue 02 to make the paint vein blue color. Use a fluffy mop brush to put a touch of color into your paint palette. A touch is just touching the bristles just gently into the top of your paint, getting just a teeny tiny bit of that color on your brush. And then mix it into your odorless thinner. It's 3/4 of a teaspoon of odorless thinner. Mixing that. And then you need a touch of the blue 02. Mix that in there. And then we're going to add a little bit of undertones to our sculpt. Babies have a little bit of thinner skin on their face and on the back of their wrists and on their elbows, and so we're creating that undertone layer of fair or light thinner skin. That's very apparent on fair babies, or Caucasian babies are very light, and so we're going to put a tiny bit of this color right on the forehead of our little baby sculpt. And I'm using my fluffy 1/4 inch mop brush to apply the paint, and then just use your cosmetic wedge to pounce it off again and blend. I'm going to try placing it on the sponge and then pouncing it on, just to see if it's easier, because sometimes if you place it on with your brush, it tends to be a little runny, but I'm not sure if that's actually as effective. Now we're just adding a little bit of undertones around each side of the nose and down the side of to draw a line to the mouth. Make sure this is very soft and subtle, because after the paint flashes off, you'll be able to see it more, and you don't want it to be too dark on your baby. Just a tiny bit of blue undertones, some of it on the temples where the skin is a little bit thinner. As you can see, I've decided not to add it to the sponge. I'm just painting it directly onto the baby sculpt. And then we're going to be adding a little bit of this color inside of the ears. This is just the undertone layer. We'll be adding a little bit more color inside the ears, but to begin with, we're just going to add a tiny bit of blue inside, behind the ears and inside of the ears. And then just using your cosmetic wedge to pounce off all the paint and blend. I like my babies to have very light undertoning layers, because if you add too much of this blue, it will make your baby look a little bruised in spots, and you don't want your baby to have bruises. So be very, very subtle. If you need to add more, wait till it flashes off, see what you think about that color, and then you're welcome to add another layer. But just do one coat for now and let it dry and see how your baby's sculpt is looking. And pounce it off with your cosmetic sponge. It's hard to get inside the ears with your cosmetic sponge, so you may want to use a dry mop brush to get in there and blend the blue layer in there. I'm just inspecting the baby's forehead just to make sure that it doesn't look too pigmented. Now we're just going to add some of the blue to the elbows and to the palms of the hands. Once again, I'm going to try the method of adding it to the sponge because I don't want paint dripping everywhere, all over. And then add a little bit of the blue undertone to the elbow and blend with your cosmetic wedge. Just a reminder, do not bake anything unless you're happy with it, because once it's baked, it's really hard to get off. So after your limbs have dried, inspect and make sure everything looks the way you want it to before you put it in your new wave oven to bake. Now I'm just adding a little bit of the blue undertones to the soles of the feet, and you do this also to the palms of the hand. They look so cute and adorable with those with that little blue undertone layer. And then the back of the knees need a little bit of paint. And then just use your cosmetic wedge to blend again, blending as you go. And let it flash off. This provides a lot of realism to your baby when they've got that little lighter, thinner skin on the soles of their feet. Also in this video, I'm going to be doing the yellow undertones as well. And so be sure to stick to the end of this video for the yellow undertones. Hello my dolly friends, it's the next day and we're ready to do more undertones on our reborn babies. Refer to this chart if you need to, and I'll also put a PDF down below. So what you need to do is you need to mix up more of your translucent vein blue color. That is 3/4 of a teaspoon of the odorless thinner, a touch of the blue number 2, and a touch of the green number 6. After you get your undertone mixture all mixed up, you can begin painting on your reborn baby using a cosmetic wedge to absorb the extra paint. Also, remember to wear vinyl gloves so you don't get the oils of your hands on the reborn kit as you're painting. Every part of the reborning process is really rewarding as your baby comes to life. It makes painting these little reborns a really good hobby for those that enjoy this type of painting. So I'm just adding a touch on the end of the bristles of the green number 6. And now we're ready to begin painting our little reborn baby. I'm just adding some undertones to the corners of the eyes and across the nose and the bridge of the nose. This highlight or undertone is very, very subtle and soft. Make sure that you don't make it too dark, because a lot of blue undertones will make your baby look bruised. And then on the temples, I'm just looking over my sculpt, making sure all of the blue undertones are soft and subtle and not too dark. Now we're going to add some blue undertones to the wrist and the palm of the hand. And then blot off with your cosmetic wedge to soak up all of the extra paint. And then to her crease of her elbow, we're just going to add some undertones to the elbow, and make sure you inspect before you bake so that there isn't any buildup of paint in the creases. And be sure to make sure the palms of your hands, if you have any creases on the palms, that there isn't any buildup of paint in the creases of the hands. Use your fluffy mop brush to go into those creases and get all the extra buildup of paint out of there. After it dries, you can inspect to make sure, but work as you go, cleaning up those creases. Now we're going to add some blue undertones to the back of the knees and to the bottom of the foot. If you'll notice, I don't know if you're painting all in one day or if you're painting the next day like me, but notice that the blue undertones on the feet are very, very, very subtle and soft. And so the next day I just added another layer of the blue undertones to the feet. The buildup of paint is necessary for creating those soft undertones that are just under the skin. I decided to mix up a little bit of the yellow undertones at this point, just to create some of the yellow, and we need to add that to the nose and under the eyes. And the mix I use is a yellow and white mix that I made myself. You're welcome to buy from Bountiful Baby the yellow white. It's number 8 yellow white, but I just make my own yellow white mix by mixing white, titanium white, and the yellow Genesis Heat Set paint. And I bought these little tiny clear containers from Bountiful Baby. Here is a picture that shows the yellow undertones. You put a little bit of yellow on the nose, on the ears, and other parts of your sculpt. So let's begin the yellow undertone step. You just mix that with the odorless thinner, a teaspoon or 3/4 of a teaspoon of odorless thinner, and a half brush of the yellow, because you want to be able to see it. The translucent yellow is so light. I'm going over it twice just because it's so soft and subtle. You don't want it to shine through your skin tones though too much, so just make it a soft color. And now I'm painting the ears, the inside of the ears. If you prefer to have a little bit of a darker color on the nose, just keep adding layers until it gets to be the color that you want, because you can always add more layers. It's hard to take layers away. So we're doing the yellow undertones inside the ears on that little part of the ear that's on the outer edge of your ear, the bony part. And then on the tip of the nose, you can add a little bit more yellow. And on the chin. Now I'm painting a light wash of yellow under the baby's eyes. And let that flash off. Here's where you need to add the yellow highlights to the knuckles and the tops of the knuckles on the inside of the ankle. Refer to your chart if you need a reminder of where to place the yellow, and make sure you clean the creases of your baby's sculpt and use a dry brush or a sponge to clean those creases. You don't want any of the yellow puddling in the creases of the fingers or in between the fingers. You just want to lightly place on the knuckles of the baby's hand. I'm adding another translucent layer just to darken it up a tiny bit more, so it shines through a little bit more through the flesh tone layers that we're going to be adding next. Now we're adding some of the yellow-white undertones to the heel of the foot and to the inside of the ankle. And pounce with your cosmetic wedge to blend. Check the creases of your sculpt. Make sure nothing is puddling in the creases. And then on the knuckles of the little tootsie toes. All right, my friends, it's now time for green undertones, and this will conclude the undertone lesson for the day. So mix up some of your green number 6 using the very tip of your 1/4 inch mop brush. Add a touch of the green to 3/4 of a teaspoon of the odorless thinner. We're going to be adding the green undertones to different parts of the face and behind the elbows and the knees and on top of the foot. And so you can refer to the chart here where you can see where the light green undertones are placed behind the neck and around the mouth. So just taking your 1/4 inch mop brush and a cosmetic wedge, you can begin painting on your baby sculpt. We're just adding the undertone mix to the forehead, pouncing off with a sponge. And on this day, I added 2 touches of the green to the odorless thinner. And it's up to you. If you want it to be very soft and subtle, just do the 1. And if you want it to show a little more, add 2 touches of the green. It's very pigmented, and so it's really up to the artist how much she wants to add to her reborn baby. And pounce it off with your cosmetic wedge. Then we're going to add a touch near the mouth. And some to the back of the neck, right behind the ears. And pounce it off with your cosmetic wedge. And then on the other side, do the same right behind the ears. I think this adds a little bit of depth to your baby's sculpt. And then, of course, right on the back of the baby's neck. Refer to your chart as needed for undertone guide. And we're going to just add some of this green undertone to the back of the wrists. And then also in the elbow, just in the corner of each side, because you already added the blue undertones along the crease of the elbow. And I just add a little bit at the edges and blend it in with your cosmetic wedge. And I want you to notice that you can really see the blue and green undertones now on your baby because of the layers that we have added the next day, just to create a little bit more of layers so that you can see it a little bit more. Just in the corners of the creases. And then on the top of the foot, we're going to add a little bit of the green along the toes. And I'll do that in just a few minutes. Let's finish the back of the wrists and the elbows and just blend with your cosmetic sponge. You can keep adding a little bit more of the green undertone mix to darken up any spots that are too light. All right, so I've pulled up the chart of the undertones so that you can refer to them on the computer screen. And I know you can't see, but it's just an idea of what you can do in your own workspace is pull up a picture of where you want those highlights to be. And I've placed them right here along the little tootsie toes. The undertone mix is right there. And then I'm using a dry mop brush to clean the creases. And use your cosmetic wedge to blend a little more. We're going to add some of that undertone to the ankles, the outside of the ankles. The inside of the ankles have the yellow mix. The outside has the green. Along the top of the toes. Make sure you clean the creases and in between the toes. You don't want any of the green puddling in there. On the ankle once again. And let it dry and then bake for 8 minutes at 265 degrees in your new wave oven. Now we're going to add some of the green mix to the part of the hand right below the fingers. And on the thumb as well. Don't forget the thumb. We're just adding some more of this along the fingers. And I think it's ready to bake. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video. All right, bye everyone.